During the Cold War, in the shadow of mutually assured destruction, something remarkable happened. The two most powerful adversaries on Earth, the United States and the Soviet Union, reached a rare consensus that nuclear proliferation was a threat to everyone. President John F. Kennedy, haunted by the spectre of the spiraling arms race, championed the Non-Proliferation Treaty, which succeeded in limiting the number of nuclear-armed states to single digits. And it was a fragile pact, but it held. Fast forward to today, and that fragile consensus is splintering. We face a new nuclear arms race, this time triangular, involving not just the US and Russia, but China. And add to this a growing number of anxious allies in Europe and Asia questioning the reliability of the American nuclear umbrella, and the dangers are multiplying. We are closer to catastrophe than at any point since 1962, and this time we might not even see it coming. So how did we get here? Donald Trump's first presidency dealt a near fatal blow to the nuclear consensus. His casual rhetoric, "Why can't we use nuclear weapons?" combined with the disdain for NATO and bizarre flirtation with Moscow, shook allies to their core, and he became paradoxically the best recruitment officer for domestic nuclear weapons programs from Seoul to Berlin. And experts like Ankit Panda and the Carnegie Endowment called this a powerful accelerant for nuclear ambitions. The deterrent calculus flipped. Suddenly American allies weren't asking, do we trust the Russians, but rather, can we trust the Americans? And when Trump comes back into the Oval Office, into Washington, the extraordinary answer within 8 weeks of his new presidency is that we can't trust the Americans. Putin has capitalized on the global insecurity not only by modernizing Russia's traditional arsenal, but also by parading so-called exotic weapons, hypersonic gliders, nuclear-powered cruise missiles, and underwater torpedoes designed to render whole coastlines uninhabitable. His saber rattling over Ukraine has made clear that for him, nuclear weapons are not merely a deterrent, but a diplomatic tool, a psychological weapon, and worryingly a battlefield option. Russia's suspension of New START, its revocation of the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty, and the relocation of tactical nuclear weapons to Belarus mark the formal unravelling of arms control. And China, once content with a minimalist deterrent, now seeks nuclear parity with the US. It's building massive missile silos in its deserts, quietly expanding its arsenal from 500 warheads towards an estimated 1,500 by 2035. Unlike Russia and the US, China has never participated in arms control agreements, and its motivations may be strategic, economic, or symbolic, but its nuclear opacity heightens the instability of a three-player arms race. And Europe isn't blameless. Brexit has weakened the sense of continental unity. Hungary's Viktor Orban and Slovakia's Robert Fico have emboldened Putin, split NATO's messaging, and complicated EU foreign policy coherence. In Germany, the Chancellor Friedrich Merz is floating the idea of a Franco-German nuclear partnership, effectively Europe's Plan B, for the way this Trump presidency is panning out. In Poland, leaders are openly courting the idea of hosting US nukes or building their own. For a country that hasn't even completed a civil nuclear reactor, that's an astonishing shift in mindset. In the US, the bipartisan consensus isn't to limit weapons, but to spend more on them. The current nuclear modernization program totals $1.7 trillion, a figure that dwarfs both the Manhattan Project and Reagan's Cold War nuclear binge. Worse, this is no longer just a replacement program. It increasingly includes new battlefield and tactical weapons, rearmament of missile silos, and proposals for a return to explosive testing. If Trump succeeds in this nonsense, his team already floated proposals under Project 2025 to reject all future arms control treaties outright. That's the plan in Project 2025. And no matter how much you distance Trump from that nonsense, it looks like that's actually the blueprint of what his new term of office seems to be promising. And unlike the Cold War, this one is less regulated, more multilateral, technologically destabilized and politically unmoored. So first, if we want to stop this, we need to resuscitate diplomacy. Even during the darkest days of the Cold War, Reagan and Gorbachev found common ground in their shared understanding and nuclear war cannot be won and must never be fought. That statement remains true. Second, we need to ratify the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty. The US has not conducted a test since 1992. It doesn't need to. But by failing to ratify the treaty, it leaves the door open to others, particularly China and India, to start again. Third, pressure from China to engage in arms-controlled dialogue needs to be encouraged. Even informal frameworks would be a beginning. May take economic or strategic incentives, but silence cannot be the status quo. Fourthly, we need to redefine deterrence. Rather than counting warheads like marbles, the US must shift to a deterrence sufficiency model, targeting systems and infrastructure, not population centers. Counterforce logic belongs in the past. Fifthly, we need to harness public opinion. The end of the Cold War was catalyzed by massive public pressure, protests, debates, nuclear freezes. Today's public understandably focus on climate change, but we must awaken the world to the peril of nuclear arms. And finally, we need to rebuild trust and communication lines. NATO's Supreme Allied Commander, General Cavoli, reminds us that deterrence once relied on predictable signalling, and that predictability is gone. It must be rebuilt, not just between generals, but between presidents. And to paraphrase Dennis Healy, it only takes 5% of credibility to deter Russia, but 95% to reassure your allies. The time has come to reinvest in that 95%, not with more weapons, but with more wisdom. The last arms race nearly ended in annihilation. This one could be worse, and it needn't be inevitable. We need to hope that we haven't lost the institutional memory or the moral clarity to stop in time.